Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Apex Investor. This is the news video for Metamaterials only. Metamaterials is our number one stock. It's our number one company on this channel. Without a doubt, it is the best stock in the stock market, in my opinion, in terms of their products, the potential, and everything they've been doing behind the scenes and have done in the past. It's only going to snowball and become a monster in the stock market. Really going to be a massive stock. This is one of the most underrated stocks in existence. First news of order is DoCoMo open house. This is coming up on the 22nd of this month. I should say not the 22nd, the 17th. So in a week. It's coming up in 6 days from now. And I predict there's going to be very good news coming out of this presentation. So that's all for that first item. Okay, welcome back. This is the next post. I'm not really going to cover this post. I just want to ask this user, Hot Mess Jess 45, if you could answer this question. What does SO stand for? I do not know what SO stands for. Is that shutout or stock offering? Can you please answer that question? But this is an interesting post because they speculate that we own most of the shares. But if we do, that's really good. And I think we probably own at least 50%. Retail investors probably own at least 50% of the float out there, as well as institutional investors. You know, I don't think the short owns as much as we do, in my opinion. So that's my only question for them. But interesting post nonetheless. Okay, moving on to the next one. So welcome back. I just listened to not the whole video, but Sterling Stocks had done an interview with George Palikaras and someone else. I think it was Ken Rice, maybe. So my plan is to watch that whole interview. It's very much worth our time if you've invested a cent or $1 into this company. So I'm going to do that and take some notes and put up a link to that in the next video because I want to kind of put everything into a nutshell to save some people time, although I really think it's worth everyone's time to watch it. So I subscribed to Sterling Stocks just a minute ago. So the next post is a question regarding the 4 Orogrande wells that need to be drilled. Is there any update? And yeah, there is an update. It says here, again, that interview with Sterling Stocks. I think I heard Ken, okay, they didn't confirm it, but they think they heard Ken say that they were done drilling already. So watch the interview, which is great, and that's what I'm about to do. Be sure, hopefully someone else will confirm or correct. Yeah, he says they put a world-class team to manage the drilling and management of the assets. He says shareholders will be very proud. That is really good news. Okay, thank you for that. Fantastic interview. It's the first time they've more or less told all the Twitter crazies to calm down. Stop expecting George to personally read them the SEC filings. Yeah. Also nice hearing them explain in very simple terms about their production capabilities and how they will heavily focus on licensing early on, as well as some seriously impressive numbers and cost reductions. It's nothing new, but somehow people constantly never hear that message and understand exactly why Meta has such a massive potential. That's a good post. Generally, drilling operations to fulfill release dates are a matter of course. If I recall correctly, in Texas, drilling the surface casing, like the first 30 feet, as part of operation satisfies the requirement as long as there is a good faith effort to complete it in a timely manner. The buyer of the land would be equally interested in completing this. So the idea will not be completed is very unlikely. I added the very. If they have at least one rig under contract, you should consider the wells drilled. For contractual purposes, the drilling process is a formality to hold the leases as far as we are concerned. Oil and gas companies always make big land purchases at the beginning of quarters. I would be willing to bet if payment has not already been tendered, it will be this week. So you're saying it's sold? Probably. Okay. Where did you see that they even had an offer? You didn't answer anything. I've worked in the oil and gas industry for long enough to know how these things generally work. If you're asking, have they put out a statement? They have not. If you're not happy with my assessment, you're welcome to speculate. Actually, I'm happy with that assessment. I do believe it's pretty much a done deal. It's just a matter of getting all those assets out and then seeing how much they're worth. Ken said the holders will be very proud. Yeah. Okay, I mean, we don't know if they've been sold, but if they're confident in how much it's worth, we should be too. And it's not like a false sense of security, like, oh, just be confident, we got this. No, they know what they're doing. They're very competent. That's why they're running the company. If they didn't meet the requirements, they wouldn't have anything to sell. Good point. Okay, so that's it for that post. Okay, so the next news is Ava. This is a non-invasive glucometer, so blood sugar testing without having to prick the skin, from India. And I'm going to tell you why this is not something to be concerned about. But essentially, this is like the space race to see who would be the first one to the moon. This is a similar kind of thing, in my opinion, where we have a lot of companies such as this one here. I don't know the name of the company, but anyway, Ava's the name of Ava. How do you pronounce that? Anyway, they're one of the people in the race. Japanese startup Quantum Operations also is in that race. You have another one, Dexcom, one of the biggest companies. It says Fitbit teamed up with Dexcom to bring their monitors data to their smartwatch. You've got Apple flirting with it as well. And then you've got this team in India. It says Blue Semi. So Blue Semi is the name of the company. And they have not been certified in Europe and the US. So this is why I say this is not a cause for concern. I think that this product by Blue Semi called Ava will most likely have the Indian market unlock. It's going to have that demographic covered. And because this product has not been tested to 100% efficiency to prove that it works and all that, so I don't think Meta Materials has a lot to be concerned about in regards to this product stealing their business. Because Meta has done their study, I think how many months they did that over the course of at least 1 or 2 years. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but they proved that their product does work. So they are starting to get into more, I'm not going to say marketing, but more research in terms of proving that in clinical settings, such as hospitals, nursing homes, etc. So this is good. This is good news, and I'll tell you why. It's because if this was not a market that is important, that was not a big enough market to warrant getting involved in, then Meta Materials wouldn't do it at all. But the fact that we have all these companies, including Apple, that wants to, they want to get into the space race, so to speak, into the non-invasive blood sugar testing tech. I don't know how to abbreviate that, but essentially non-pricking sugar testing. Non-invasive glucose monitoring. Okay, NIGM. No, that's not going to fly. Non-invasive blood sugar, NIBS. NIBS, yeah. Non-invasive blood sugar testing. So NIB-T, non-invasive blood sugar. Let's call it NIBS. Let's just call it NIBS for short. So the space race for NIBS is on, and you've got a lot of companies into it. Meta is in it. They're in the race, and they seem to be the horse with the most competency, and their tech seems to work as well as Dexcom. So I think Dexcom, and then you have Sensonics as well. I think those are the three that you have to watch for. I wouldn't be concerned with this because I think they've cornered the Indian market, not so much the American and the European market. I don't think, even if this product works as advertised, I don't think they're going to be able to break into those markets, the American and European and international, like Asian. I think they're going to be pretty much relegated to India. And when I say Asian, I mean like Japan, China, and the East and Southeast Asian countries that don't include India. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Okay, and so this is the last post that we'll look at, and then I'll do a third video just to summarize the interview that Sterling Stocks did. So this is Meta response to the class action FUD. So I don't know if you're aware, but pretty much every company, every stock on the stock market goes through this. You will see in their press releases and news items that there's always a parade of lawyers, firms, law firms that are always suing companies, even Tesla as well. But especially when a stock is down, you have all these law firms just releasing their press releases just to attack a stock's worth and people's perception of how much it is worth. So I'm going to read the comments here. He proved the main complaint is false. So yeah, they have nothing to go on there. The firm report said there are no products. The lawsuit by the law firm is based on a false report. Meta did show a variety of products ready for production at CES. They have real partners such as Seki Sui Chemical based in Japan, and their stock is worth $17 per share. Patents have been filed and approved. A company that aims at scamming its investors will not file for patents. And that's a really good point. I want to repeat that again. A company that aims at scamming its investors will not file for patents. They won't do it, and certainly would not come up with prototypes to show at a conference like CES, one of the biggest in the world. A foreign company would not go into partnership with them as well. It would not be, and the government would not go into, the federal governments of Canada and America would not go into partnership with Meta either. You wouldn't do that. It's not a good business practice. It's not, that's just stupid. Let's just put it that way. It would not be reasonable to assume that a company showing this much initiative and real tangible products like Meta would be there to scam investors. Good point. The lawsuit will be thrown out. Yeah, so I just ignore it. It's a parade of law firms, lawyer parade, and it means nothing to me. The only thing Meta attorney can do is write a letter disagreeing and disproving the complaints. Yeah, he responded on stock tweets. Okay, let's look at that. Exactly. Meta is guilty of being in the process of becoming great, but not being there yet, all the way there yet. How on earth is that a bad thing? I thought it was the American dream. It's a messy merger. Well, it's complicated because you have a Canadian company essentially in metamaterials acquiring an American company that isn't even in the same sector, which is Torchlight. So yeah, that's why it's a little bit complicated. But if they were both American or if they were both Canadian, there would be a lot less red tape. Okay, just people complaining. I hope they investigate the entire... Okay. Let's just not believe blindly, but, that the MMTOP will deliver. A skilled litigator could argue that George misled the investors with his tweets, from his torch the shorts catchphrasing to tweeting about ex-dividend dates and his confusing cryptic tweets that made novice investors into thinking he had contracts with Tesla, Facebook, and other prominent companies. Actually, that's a good point. As proof, look at the amount of investors that still believe 121 has some type of correlation with Tesla or a short squeeze. And that's coming up. People talking about $30 dividends when some of the history behind the Orogrande Basin assets also point to it having limited value. Founders Oil and Gas was designated as the operator of the leases back in 2015. Torchlight took back operational control in the fourth quarter of 2017 after founders had spent $9.5 million to gain a 9.5% working interest in the project. In 2018, founders sold its 9.5% working interest for a total of $2.5 million. So the former operator, who assuming had a decent idea of the value of the acreage of the Orogrande project, invested $9.5 million. But ended up selling its stake for only $2.5 million. At that price, $2.5 million for the sale of 9.5% working interest. Torchlight's 66.5% working interest would be worth approximately $17.5 million. The value of the special dividend is estimated at $0.45 million, so $450K for the Winkler project sale, plus $12.4 million for this Hazel project. That would depend on the results from the Flying Bee Ranch, although the overall commodity price environment is more favorable to the sale. The price of oil has gone up, so that's why he's saying that. Added to that would be any proceeds from the Orogrande Basin sale. As noted above, the former operator of the Orogrande project sold his stake at a price that would point to $17.5 million value for Torchlight's current stake. That gives a total value of $30 million or 20 cents per share for the special dividend. There is also the possibility the Orogrande project sells for less, given that Torchlight paid a bit over $3 million for it back in 2014. And that's with $90 per barrel of oil. Torchlight has done a bit of exploratory work on the asset since then, but at the last reporting, there are still no proved reserves associated with it. If one wants to be very bullish on this asset, the $81.3 million value from the notes payable conversion can be used instead. This would result in a value of 62 cents per share for the oil and gas assets. That's interesting. I like how this person actually explained their points and then just attack the stock. Torchlight spent a bit over $3 million for the Orogrande project acreage back in 2014. They've done a modest amount of exploratory work on it since then. However, there are no proved reserves and no commercial production associated with Orogrande. The former operator of it sold its 9.5 interest for $2.5 million back in 2018. So this is before the pandemic, after spending $9.5 million to earn that working interest initially. I believe this gives a more accurate picture of the potential value of that asset than a comparison to prime like the Permian Basin acreage with tons of proved reserves and associated productions. That's a good post. It's not a positive post, but at least they present their opinion with a lot of potential facts. I'm not saying you can confirm everything they said, but they presented it in an intelligent way, in an intelligent fashion. It would be tough to prove that tweets posted by George were aimed at misleading investors. Catchphrases and cryptic tweets are very much subjective. Yeah, that's a good point too. Okay. He's saying Elon Musk is one that confuses investors. I'd agree with that. Okay. Okay, so dividend speculation, is it going to be $1 or less, or is it going to be $20 or more? Some say even 35, or is that going to be a spin-off? So this is all investor speculation. I admit it is speculation. The CEO and company would be in trouble if they definitely said dividend will be whatever. It's going to be $40. Let's say if they just, this is how much it's going to be worth. They'd be in trouble if they do not deliver on that. Whereas a channel like mine, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. I could say whatever I want. I could say this could be worth $1 billion, and but that's my opinion, and could be wrong. In my own post, I had to go into Apple's guidelines on use of IP to explain that just because they see a picture of an Apple Watch on the Meta presentation at CES, it does not mean there's a partnership. I also do not think a lot of judges would consider the novice investor's situation. As a general rule, you should study the topic before committing to a stock. You should research your investments before putting money into them, and never invest just because someone told you something, such as this channel. Don't just invest because I tell you. Do your homework and look into this, and that's what we're doing actually right now on Reddit. If the case was that a novice investor throws their money into a company because they saw a tweet or read an article or read a Reddit post, then it successfully proves they were manipulated. So yeah, you got to do your due diligence. We've seen a lot of PR. We've seen a lot of past deals that have been done, that Meta has done with other companies and are currently doing still. If we take the shorts phrase literally, how do we know he is not done torching them? It didn't even start. The torching the shorts didn't even start yet because the stock has not gone to where it should be. He never gave any dates or timelines exactly. It might happen in a week, a month, or 5 years, or maybe even 10 years. I'm not going to comment on the dividend because, again, it is speculation, good speculation, but speculation. As far as we know, the dividend is still unknown. Yeah, so those are two good posts. Good rebuttal. The torch tweet was on a weekend. 1 week later, it had hit 200% gain, and then a sell-off began. So you're saying it is misleading. Well, you have to factor in that you have short sellers and naked shorts. So I'm going to downvote that just because you can't just rule those out and just say, okay, short sellers don't exist and hedge funds don't exist. No, they do exist. So if you're going to put all the blame on GameStop or AMC when they were down, that's kind of dishonest because you have to look at the picture, the big picture. I gave you an upvote just because people may not agree with your assessment does not make you wrong. And that's what I did too. I don't agree with their assessment, but at least they presented it in a good way. Okay, so this is the last post we're going to look at. Yeah, so most of the stocks I own have a ambulance chasing law firm working at a class action angle. It basically is a parade. It's just par for the course. When you're big enough, you get attention like that. So if you think the timing of the short report and lawsuit were not calculated attacks at this point to shake us, to shake investors and get us to sell, then think about it. Know what you hold because the shorts do. That's why they're trying so hard to get to us and to get to Meta. That's a good point. Exactly. It's been calculated. They've been doing this for decades. This is what they do. They want to put people out of business and companies out of business. But as well, when they know that when they shake the tree and people sell their stock at ridiculous price points like right now, below $3, they're going to buy those up and they're going to sell those once they get to double digits, whether it's $10, $20, $50, or $100, depending on how long these shorts or whatever, how long they are in this company. Wall Street and the army of lawyers, yeah, so this is pretty much par for the course. And I'm glad everyone's holding the line here. Most people are. Tend to the flowers in the garden that are within your reach, okay? Vote, invest, raise a family, be kind. Do your part and ease suffering to find your own happiness. Okay, that's nice, flowery words, but how does that relate to the stock? Timing is everything. That's what George said. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, it's pretty much FUD. It is FUD. It's important to get a reality check and see potentially this may not be worth $20 to $40. It might be worth, like this guy said, less than $1. It could be. That's why I think we should be investing more into Meta, the company itself, and not the dividend. But that's up to you what you want to do. There was also this today in regards to the SEC subpoena. So this is from January the 8th. This is a response. We knew historically that similar listings on NASDAQ via merger could result in investigations. Before we signed the first, I don't know what that stands for, with Torchlight, so we decided to proceed and we made sure everything was done to the highest level. And that actually addresses one of the concerns from, if you remember that Leszek Kowalski guy, he said, Meta has to be very careful to do everything by the book. Don't leave any stone unturned. And that's what he's doing. So he is very much aware of this fact. Although I'm not happy, think he's talking about the FUD and the law firms, the lawyer parade. We have prepared for this potential risk since the start and have a great team that allows management to continue to focus on the business and not have to be distracted, essentially, by the lawyers. Okay, and you got all these trolls here, as you do on Twitter. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'm going to watch this interview in full, take notes, and hopefully present to you something that is, I'm aiming for 5 to 10 minutes video presentation, just summing this up, but I'm going to put a link to that in that video where I sum things up. I try to summarize what was covered here, because I realize not everyone has an hour to listen to this, but you really should. So I will link to that. So thank you very much for your support, and appreciate it. Give this video a like, smash the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. God bless your investments.